All right. All right, let's get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Delegate Smith. Delegate Bagnall, could you lead us in a quick prayer?
Good evening. As we are entering this season of light and a new session, which is also a season of renewal, I have a blessing, an Irish blessing to offer. May the blessing of light be on you, light without and light within. May the blessed sunlight shine on you and warm your heart till it glows like a great peat fire, so that the stranger may come and warm himself at it, and also a friend. And may the light shine out of the two eyes of you, like a candle set in the windows of a house, bidding the wanderer to come in out of the storm. Amen.
Thank you very much for that, Delegate Bagnall. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I want to take this opportunity to introduce our Senate colleagues who've joined us tonight. We have Senator Pam Beidel. We have Senator Sarah Elfreth. And as I scroll through the list, I believe that's all I see. So if I'm mistaken, please let me know if I've missed anyone, but I do see Senator Beidel and Senator Elfreth, and I want to thank both of you for joining us this evening. Also want to share the great news before we get started that we had our elections, and so our chair for the Anne Arundel County House delegation for 2023 will be Delegate Heather Bagnall, and our vice chair will be Delegate Dana Jones. And so certainly look forward to passing the baton and working with them in the upcoming session. Delegate Bagnall is no stranger. She was the vice chair of this previous session. So look forward to supporting her in her new role. And so again, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with our legislative bond initiatives. Just a couple house rules. So you will have 2 minutes to make your presentation. Then there will be up to 3 minutes worth of questions. If there are any questions, and there may not be questions, I know that there are a number of folks who are going to have to drop off, members who will have to drop off at a certain point in time to attend other things, but we will continue on until everyone has had the opportunity to present their legislative bond initiatives. After 2 minutes, we will ask you to summarize, and then we will move on. So I just, fair warning, want to let you know, 2 minutes, that's it. And then if members have any questions, we'll allow up to 3 minutes for that. So with that, our first presenter this evening will be the Chesapeake Bay Trust, Dr. Jana Davis.
Thank you so much, delegation. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you so much for allowing us to put this request in. Many of you know the Chesapeake Bay Trust. We're a grant-making organization. We fund lots of homeowners associations, faith-based groups, schools, teachers to do environmental work that benefits their own communities. A couple years ago, we moved from a rented space in a frugally conscious move to save a little bit of money. We actually acquired a space that was cheaper for us to occupy. It's almost entirely impervious surface. We are an environmental organization. Right now, all of our water goes off of our property. You have a one-pager in front of you that has a graphic that shows the current conditions. So the water goes right into the Chesapeake Bay. It is, as polluted as other stormwater, and we want to walk the talk and live our sort of campus life the way we fund other entities to live there. So we make grants to churches, for example, to put rain gardens in and actually do very much the same kind of campus project that we're proposing here. So we have a $1 million project that will involve 3 elements: putting solar on the roofs so that we can be net energy zero, putting stormwater features in so that we can treat as much stormwater as possible. It's never possible to be 100% net stormwater zero, but we want to capture as much rainwater on our property so it doesn't run right off into the bay, infiltrate it into the ground, and then add an outdoor meeting space so that we can encourage people to get outdoors and stay healthy and get healthy and stay healthy. So you see the graphic in front of you. Our campus, as we call it, is a half an acre. It is in the Eastport area of Annapolis. And the cool thing about it is it's exactly the average size of an office building in the United States of America. And so if we show how to be net stormwater zero and net energy zero on this campus, it can be a really cool model for a lot of other entities. So that's our project. And Senator Elfreth and Senator Beidel have been very involved. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Davis. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, Senator Beidel.
Senator
I
Beidel.
can't, thank you very much. I can't see anything that Dr. Davis just talked about because all you can see on the screen is the timer. So if we're sharing the screen, I mean, I would like to have seen her presentation. So I don't know if we can fix that for the next one.
I think we just did. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Senator Elfreth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And it's not a question, but since we're not in session, I hope I don't have to say, isn't that so at the end of my statement? I just want to let everybody know that the Bay Trust does incredible work. I know we're all very familiar, particularly here in Anne Arundel County, the projects that they fund through things like the tax checkoff, things like the license plate. And it's very important, I know, to Dr. Davis that the trust not utilize that money that should be going out into the community. So they are privately fundraising towards this project, which is why Senator Beidel and I thought it was an appropriate project for the delegation to come together on and support. So thank you.
And that's so.
Isn't that so?
Delegate Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Davis, for the presentation and for our senators for their support for the project. It looks like just a quarter of the project's funding would be requested in the LBI, and Senator Elfreth just stated that you all are privately fundraising. So I'm trying to understand the timeline of the private fundraising and the timeline of shovels in the ground on the project. Can you help me orient myself in the timeline for the project?
Yes, so we have about 500,000 of the $1 million project costs in hand already, and we are actively fundraising, as we speak. This is a good fundraising time of year, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more. This would be the final piece that kind of pulls it all together. We are in the architectural phase now. We're at about 30% design phase. We are funding that already out of the money that we have raised so far. And so, the timing is going to be driven a little bit by the pots of money. This money obviously wouldn't be available till after July 1. And so that's perfect construction time for us. We could probably start a little earlier. If we had to wait till July 1, we could do that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And just as a delegate from the district where the project will be hosted, it sounds fantastic and like a wonderful addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Delegate Henson.
Senator Beidel, is your hand still up from before?
Senator Beidel, you're still muted.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. And no, my hand is raised new this time. If I can offer, the reason that I'm helping to sponsor this is that it's not in my district, but I sit on the Chesapeake Bay Trust Board. And I just want to say that Jana's leadership is amazing, and they are so careful about how they spend money. And I'm sure that if we can award this bond, it's going to be very carefully spent. And I just am looking forward to seeing the new project completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Beidel. Any other questions from members or comments? Seeing none, next we'll move to the Severn Senior Dog Sanctuary and Christine Sandberg.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you today.
Ms. Sandberg, excuse me, could you please show your screen?
I unfortunately can't. I'm having some technological errors. I'm actually in my car heading to an emergency appointment for one of our dogs. So I have my laptop open, but I can't get my screen to play. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine. Continue. Nicole, could you take the timer down?
Okay.
Please continue, Ms. Sandberg.
Sure. So I am the executive director of the Senior Dog Sanctuary of Maryland. We are located in Severn on 3 acres. We are a federally recognized nonprofit, and our founder, who served our country as a colonel in the Air Force and then later as an Anne Arundel County business person, passed away in 2020 quite unexpectedly, and we were faced with fully funding our operation through primarily donor funding. In doing so, we've worked really hard to drive down our operating costs. We've lowered them by 48%. We've also somehow been able to keep up with the rising cost of veterinary care for the dogs that we do save, and we're up to about 850 dogs so far. And we've also been able to raise our wages for our very diverse staff of 14 people to a living wage. We are currently seeking help with capital improvements to fortify areas around the property that get quite a bit of use. Some of them are structural improvements that will help our facility become more soundproof for both inside our facility and out, and better insulate us for energy efficiency. We'd also like to better utilize our property grounds, our yards and fencing to better to improve how we, serve our dogs, but also to keep in mind that we are adjacent to a lovely Anne Arundel County preserve, and we want to protect the runoff that preserve would have to incur from our use. We're really grateful for this opportunity. We're really hoping that given the chance to make these improvements, we can continue to serve the county. We do take in animals that are shelter bound, whether they arrive there or not, to the county shelter. And we also outreach to the community.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms. Sandberg. Are there any questions from the members? Delegate Henson, followed by Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the very important work and the great presentation. If my memory serves me correct, I believe we were able to support the Senior Dog Sanctuary with some amount of funding last session. If I'm correct on that, can you help us understand the impact of that funding and how this bond initiative would further your goals there at the center?
Yes, thank you, Delegate Henson, for that question. So we did receive a $100,000 bond initiative for some improvements in the building. That would be to fix the roof on our facility, which does need repair and replacement. There are also some other improvements to secure our facility with doors and things of that nature that just have gone under disrepair. We did manage to pay off our mortgage through private funding, and we're very proud of that. So this bond initiative, the initial one, really helped to support us with these other very important things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Ms. Sandberg, for your presentation. I hope everything goes well with the emergency with the dog that you're going to look after. I wanted to make sure I was looking over some of the material that Secretary Roger provided for us, and I want to make sure that there wasn't any written presentation. I guess this might be for either the chairman or for Ms. Sandberg. There wasn't any written presentation provided for this particular LBI yet, right?
No, we provided a one-page overview, but we did not provide a presentation as of yet.
Okay, so there is a one-page overview. I'm just overlooking it then.
Yeah.
Okay. I just couldn't find it, and I was going through my emails and I couldn't find it. Okay.
I apologize. I intended to display it. It's one of these days. So
no, it's fine. I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
go through my email to see if I could find it and follow along. Okay, thank you. Can you tell me what the amount is that the LBI is for?
Yes, we're seeking $150,000 for this round.
Okay,
We're-
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to say, I had the honor and pleasure of visiting Senior Dog Sanctuary. And I would encourage all of you to go out and visit. It is really and truly inspiring. Even if you're not a dog lover, but especially if you are, you know, older dogs, which I believe they define as older than, is it age 5 or 6?
It's 7. Mhm.
Yeah, are really hard to place. And some of these dogs will in fact live out their lives at Senior Dog Sanctuary, but others they will try and place, and they have just a wide range of, not all of them, but many of them have medical needs. They've been, you know, sometimes well taken care of, but someone had to give them up for health reasons, or maybe the owner passed away. But other times they've been neglected or just given up, and have little hope in a traditional, certainly in a traditional shelter, but even through probably some traditional rescue organizations being adopted. But it's just really inspiring. It's incredibly well run. If I'm not mistaken, I think that the person that founded it and funded it for many, many years, I believe passed away. And now the challenge for Senior Dog Sanctuary is to continue to raise money. Again, it is a gorgeous property, really loved and supported by all of the neighbors nearby, who often will just drop things off unexpectedly, will drop off blankets or food or other things. So it's got a lot of community support. And I just want to encourage, you know, everyone, if you have a chance, to go see it for yourselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Delegate Lehman. We are going to, seeing no other hands raised or questions, we're going to move on to the Lincoln Heights Women's Club and Miss Ann Yakaitis.
Fantastic, you pronounced that the right way. Thank you. Good evening to everyone. I'm Ann Yakaitis, and I'm representing the Women's Club of Linthicum Heights. Our building that we own is in need of repair. I gave you a short synopsis of, not short, but one page on what our organization does, all the different activities that we're involved in Anne Arundel County. I would like to give you a little background on the building itself. It's on Hammonds Ferry Road, North Hammonds Ferry Road, and it was a mail order building that was purchased in 1919. And it was completed in 1920, put together, brought in by rail. And it cost $2,573 at that point. It became St. John's Lutheran Church, and in 1950, they built a new church around the corner, and the Women's Club bought the building that we currently meet in, which is that same building. We really do try our best to keep our building in good condition. However, with COVID and the unexpected expense of putting on a new roof 2 years ago, we've had some difficulty meeting our things that we would like to do in the community. So we are asking for renovation for the interior of our building at $50,000. And this will be used to, the inside has to completely be repainted. We need flooring, we need carpeting, we need some other thing. We don't really not sure we need electrical work done. We're not really sure exactly what these things will lead to in terms of extra costs, but we are asking for $50,000. And we hope that you will see this as a good thing for the community. We've been in the community for since 1940, over 82 years, and we've had from your what you can see on the list, we work very hard in the community through our educational, charitable, and just volunteer. We're an all-volunteer organization, part of the GFWC, which is a very large international organization with over 70,000 members in America. So we're beginning to gather estimates on what things would cost. So we really feel that it would be helpful if we would have this funding from the state. We have 17 different committees that meet constantly. We have meetings every month at our house, and that's our house, in our building. We have board meetings, we have general meetings, and it is open to the community. We've also hosted Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Some churches have begun in our facility, and we're proud of it. And it's really a part of Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Rogers.
Yes, ma'am.
Time's up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I've had the pleasure of visiting the facility. It's a wonderful facility, and I certainly appreciate all that you do to open up your doors to the community. Are there any questions from other members at this time?
May I just say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to thank very much Delegate Chang and Senator Bidle, who are co-sponsoring this as a cross joint effort.
Absolutely. I see a question from, yes, ma'am, from Delegate Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for a point of clarity, I believe Ms. Diakaitis did touch on it towards the end of the presentation. It looks like you have a number of great community partnerships. Is the facility open for community use, or is it exclusive to members of the organization? Could you help me understand the public access to the facility?
Sure. Yes, we do offer to the public. For example, during COVID, LSIA was not allowed to meet in the schools, so they met at our facility. We have had in the past Alcoholics Anonymous, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. So yes, it is. I mean, you have to get on our schedule, but we're there.
Thank you for the clarity. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Historic Annapolis and Caitlin Bedsworth.
Good morning. Hi. Good evening. My name is Karen Timer Brown. I'm representing Historic Annapolis. I'm the president and CEO. I would like to thank you all for giving us an opportunity to share our proposed request for an LBI of $100,000. As you likely know, Historic Annapolis is the proud steward of a dozen state-owned buildings, most of which are historic, wonderful assets. And our reputation as a preservation organization is most widely associated with the William Paca House and Garden. This is a National Historic Landmark in downtown Annapolis on Prince George Street. And the Historic House Museum and Garden is open to the public for tours and for interpretive programs. It's a preeminent heritage tourism site in Annapolis, an international draw. And we host a number of events in the garden, from weddings to garden tours and private events. The state and HA worked together in the 1970s to restore the house and garden. And there's a 2-acre pleasure garden in the rear of the house. It's a beautiful reconstruction of an 18th century pleasure garden. There's a sizable drop, about 20 feet in topography from the terrace to the fish-shaped pond in the front of the summer house, which is right now only traversed by stairs and no ramps. And so we are committed to making our sites and our programs accessible and honoring state and federal ADA code requirements. And a few years ago, we created a virtual program of the William Paca House to accommodate visitors who cannot access the house. And now we're really turning our attention to the garden and have been working with a landscape architect to come up with a plan to make the garden accessible and to allow our visitors to have full access to the full garden. Currently, only the terrace, the upper level, is ADA accessible. And so we've broken up the project into phases, and we've secured private funding and a Maryland Heritage Areas Authority grant to fund phase 1 to plan. And we're planning this to initiate this first phase after the new year, which will allow full access to the second level of the garden and, key interpretive spaces. The next 2 phases allow for access to the lower part of the garden, where we host many wedding ceremonies. And the LBI, I will wrap this up, will be instrumental in helping us with the subsequent phases of the garden. And again, allow us to make these historic trust or properties entrusted to us as accessible as possible. And thank you, Delegate Jones, for your support of this project. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Are there any questions from the members? Seeing none, next up will be ARC Central Chesapeake Region, Greg Snyder.
Thanks so much, Chair Rogers, Chair Elfreth, and members of the delegation. My name is Greg Snyder, here representing the ARC Central Chesapeake Region. These continue to be exciting times of growth in the ARC Central Chesapeake Region as we continue to expand and meet the increasing needs of the communities that we serve throughout Anne Arundel County. We find that our program space needs in Anne Arundel County have also increased. When the ARC expanded into our renovated Severn campus in late 2018, we projected that this space would support our operational needs through 2030. However, with our growth in services, we have determined that by summer of 2023, we will no longer have enough space for all of our program and corporate support team members in Severn. To meet the ARC's current and future space needs, we have reached an agreement on a 10-year lease with 2 5-year renewal options for the 3rd floor of 999 Corporate Boulevard in Linthicum. So our bond bill request will be $400,000, and these funds will provide funding for phase 2 of our project, which includes an accessible restroom with an adult changing station and a behavioral health suite. So currently there are only 2 adult changing stations in all of Anne Arundel County, one being at BWI Airport and the other being at the ARC's Severn Community Hub. Phase 1 of our project will consist of office design and layout, minor renovation work, and the creation of a professional development center and a community hub. For phase 1 of the project, the ARC will be utilizing a mix of our reserves, as well as we've received $500,000 in tenant improvement funds to complete the necessary upgrades. Like I said before, phase 2 of the project, which this bond bill would cover, will provide funding for the development of our behavioral health suite and an accessible bathroom with an adult changing station. The ARC during the COVID-19 pandemic really saw the need for increasing behavioral health services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. A lot of the people we support were dealing with new things they'd never dealt with before: grief, trauma, family situations. So through that, we decided to focus on behavioral health and expand our behavioral health supports. And through Senators Cardin and Van Hollen, we anticipate a federal set aside this year to hire additional behavioral health clinicians to be able to expand that program. So I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate everyone's support on this.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Are there any questions from any of the members? Seeing none.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I see one, Delegate Henson. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Snyder, for the presentation, the written materials, and the transformative work that the ARC does. In a follow-up email, I don't know if the appropriate forum is to answer publicly, but can you help us understand any of those contingencies that would allow you to exercise the additional 5 years on the lease? I know that it looks like you pay careful attention to our concern for the state's return on investment, just making sure we have an appropriate life cycle for the use of the improvements.
Yep, and we're aware of that. They're 2 5-year automatic renewals. So if we decide to renew, they will renew.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Snyder.
All right, thank you, Delegate Henson. Next up, we have the Maritime Institute of Technology, Mr. Glenn Payne. Mr. Payne. Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to move to the South River Park Citizens Association and Mr. Gary Fegan.
Yeah, that would be me. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Fagan, and I'm the treasurer at South River Park Citizens Association right here in Edgewater. I wanted to thank Delegate Jones for bringing me this opportunity. We met her at our centennial celebration back a couple months ago and had a really nice time, and wanted just to bring the project to you all. We have a beach project here that we are working on. We have a very nice beach area. It's about an acre and a half of land. Matter of fact, I was on the swim team in 1969 here. I used to live in Montgomery County, but I was down here in the summer times, and it was a beautiful beach area. And we moved down here about 5 years ago, and the whole beach area has kind of gotten into a bad state. We have a wall that's not functioning well. It's crumbling. We also have a lot of non-native plants that have taken over this entire area, as well as a lot of erosion issues that we're dealing with. And what we're proposing is to take that wall out, take all the non-natives out, and put in obviously native plants. Bring that wall back about 15 feet to make it more effective, as well as to have a ramp that would go down into the down towards the water for better access. So right now we have about 114 homes in our development. About 90 of those homes are not waterfront. So they buy here and they want to enjoy the water that we have here. It's wonderful. And however, there's really no access for them whatsoever. We're actually starting to get a lot more younger families with young kids. And it would just be a really perfect thing for them to be able to go down and enjoy the water and have a beach area that they could enjoy. The project is about $56,000 to do this. We've actually secured a contractor, a very reliable contractor, who we've done a lot of work with here locally. They do our snow plowing and some other things. And we've actually given them a 25% deposit. And what we're requesting for the LBI is if we could get half of that, it would really go a long way to help us. We have some funds due to the homeowners association fees that are paid through our taxes every year. But we are going to end up a little short, which we're actually going to secure, a loan if in fact the LBI would not come forward. So
we need you to summarize, Mr. Fagan.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see any timer. That's my summary. That's it. We would love the opportunity for you all to help us with this, and thank you all very, very much for your time and consideration.
Are there any questions from the members? Delegate Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Fagan, for the presentation. Can you help me understand if the property is available for public use, or is it exclusive for residents in the community?
That's a great question. It's only for the community at this time, for the 150 homes that are here.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan.
Any other questions? Seeing none, next we'll move on to the Pasco Crisis Stabilization Center and Ms. Catherine Bonacontri.
Thank you, Delegate Rogers. It's my privilege to actually be here tonight with all of you, and thank you for your time. I'm Catherine Bonacontri, and I'm the President and Executive Director of the Pasco Crisis Stabilization Center. Some of you have been gracious enough to come and visit our center on Crownsville State Hospital campus. I'm coming to you this cycle with this LBI because essentially we are in the Winter Road building complex, which is a complex of 3 buildings built in the 1940s, and ours is in the center, and to my left and to my right are the other structures. Both have elevators and have been modernized in order to help take care of those buildings and have them have a purpose, and ours has not had an elevator. This is a problem for our clients in so many different ways. I can't even begin to tell you how many times we've had to turn away people who are in crisis actively, unfortunately, because they can't navigate the stairs. It's a 4-story building. So back in 2021, we were able to get estimates. We have 2 of them, one for $738,000 and another for $818,000. And those are 2021 prices. As everyone knows, everything has gone up. We have asked for more than that because the other thing that I didn't really mention in our 1-pager is that we also really desperately need to put HVAC into the upper floors. We are using window units right now, and frankly, they are not tamper-proof. And we have some folks that have managed to do some damage for some of those units, and we would like to replace them, and we would like to have the ability to have some centralization of that air in our building for our comfort, and being able to pass that on to all the clients that we take care of. If any of you are not familiar with our services, we actually have 10 licenses. Well, 1 is pending, 9 licenses and 1 pending. We have an active CON in for adding detox into our program at this moment in time, and we are looking at 20 additional beds from just detox. So we are trying desperately to meet the need as it's presenting, but there's simply more need than any one of us can take care of, but we're all doing our part. And I would very humbly ask that you consider helping us put this elevator in that's very, very much needed so that our agency can take better care of behavioral health crises in Anne Arundel County and the state of Maryland. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bonacontri, and I want to take the opportunity to say I have had a chance to visit the facilities, and see some of the great services that you all have, that you do provide. And so just want to thank you for that. Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would love an opportunity to visit the facility, and just want to thank you for the work you're doing. There is just so much need on the behavioral health front, a lot of unmet need. And so just to do better. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I will absolutely reach out once this is over and make arrangements for you to come and see us. We would be honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from the members? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Bonacontra. We're going to move to the Anne Arundel County Fair and John Faber.
Yes, good afternoon, senators and delegates. My name is John Faber, president of the Anne Arundel County Fair Grounds. The fairgrounds, located in Crownsville, Maryland, is a 501c3 organization completely run by fair volunteers. We do host many diverse events throughout the year, drawing many visitors from around the county. And of course, our county agricultural fair held in September is our most popular. The fair recently, or this year, celebrated its 70th anniversary. The fair originated on the Broadneck Peninsula, moved to Sandy Point, and then shortly after, or in the early 80s, it moved to the Crownsville location. The property is owned by the state of Maryland and leased to us through the Department of Natural Resources. And the fair has prided itself in the past of being very self-sufficient for many years. But in recent years, infrastructure needs and simple wear and tear on buildings has taken its toll. We are again reaching out to the delegation to consider our bond request for improvements very much needed at the fairgrounds to stay viable. Our fair office is in need of immediate repair. Roof, siding, gutters all need repair or replacement. The upper pavilion needs a good bit of girder work due to rust. The pavilion, as well as the exhibit and commercial buildings, were previously owned aircraft hangars moved to the fairgrounds in the early 80s. And this past year, we completed repairs on failing sprinkler systems in our exhibit and commercial buildings. Unfortunately, due to cost increases, another $15,000 is needed to complete those repairs. And the fair is also in desperate need of storage space. We looked at different options, including additional buildings to be used for storage. And the board decided that the most cost-effective way is to increase storage is to use what's commonly referred to as sea containers. And last but not least, we do need some concrete work down in the barn area. This is to do some repair, cinder block repair on the back of the poultry barn, and to be used as off the ground storage for a couple of items. And I appreciate the delegation's time to consider the Anne Arundel County Fair's request, and I am happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Faber. At this time, do we have any questions from any of our members? Seeing none, what I'm going to do is circle back to the Maritime Institute of Technology, who didn't hear their name called earlier, and Mr. Glenn Payne. Are you available?
Yes, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, my apology. That was my fault. I'm more used to Teams and Zoom.
No worries. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Glenn Payne. I serve as Executive Director of the MMP MAIS program that operates the Maritime Institute, also known as MITAC, for the past 23 years. I have recently retired, but I'm representing a new Executive Director, Mr. Eric Frank. Thank you for the opportunity to present. The MITAC has been operating in Lytham Heights campus since 1972. We're located within less than 5 miles of the Baltimore-Washington Airport. The school's mission is to enhance professional the development of internationally recognized maritime training and simulation. We issue over 6,000 certificates a year. Institute also does training for both civilian and military mariners at every level. You will find mariners from all over the world, including Ukraine, Costa Rica, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Mexico, and as far away as Sri Lanka. We also use our maritime expertise to assist the ports across the country, including Trade Point Atlantic, Port of Baltimore, and the emerging Maryland offshore wind industry. The school is among the leading maritime training simulation centers in the world. MyTag role in the community, though, in addition to the training, we play an important role in supporting the maritime supply chain and transportation system. During the pandemic, MyTags provided quarantine quarters for mariners prior to deployment in order to ensure a virus does not spread the ships. The school also supports U.S. Coast Guard and Navy vessel transfer program. On the local level, MyTag is an emergency center for agencies of the federal government and the BWI airport. BG&E also uses the facility to house their out-of-state line crews during disaster response. Finally, the Anne Arundel County Police Department Quick Response Team uses the facility for training and practice techniques. These and other duties require MyTags to be able to operate regardless of weather. The financial impact, the capital reserves were depleted during the pandemic. We are on the mend, concerned that our emergency generating system could fail before our capital budgets are replenished. MyTag is requesting a bond bill of approximately $500,000 to replace the aging system. New system will greatly improve the resiliency of the campus during severe weather conditions and MyTag's ability to respond to other national and state emergencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. So
Yes.
with that, I couldn't get to my timer to shut off quick enough. So with that, are there any questions from any of the members? Delegate Henson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Payne, for the presentation and the written materials as well. The written materials indicate that at this time, the organization is under fear that the backup generator system may give out on you and you not be able to perform the essential functions. Have you had a contractor's estimate or anything that would get the price tag that we have there of the $500,000 and that lets you know that you're at the end of the useful cycle? And at the risk of being compound with the question, if the chair will permit, could you also let us know what the typical useful cycle is for the backup generator equipment that you would install and purchase with the bond bill?
Thank you. The current system is over 50 years old. We maintain it, but it's at the end of its economic life. The new systems would run anywhere from $500,000 to $1.6 million, depending on how much of the facility we are going to repower. So whatever investment that's put in will be for a long-term, 30+ years or more for these type of systems. And it's designed, especially on inclement weather, that we can continue to operate and support not only Mission Maritime, but also the emergency issues that we do for the airport, G&E, and other agencies of the federal government as well.
Thank you.
Senator Bidle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Payne, thank you for your presentation. You just have done such amazing work in the community, particularly during COVID, and with all the training that you provide. I hope that we're going to be able to help with funding this generator because I know it's important to your continued operations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bidle. Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Payne, for your presentation. I apologize, I do not have your briefing materials in front of me. I was just wondering if you could say briefly, what is your organization an educational entity? Is it a how would you characterize it? Do you have students or you only work with professionals
Yes.
already in the,
Ma'am, it's a nonprofit. It is a school. It's a nonprofit trusteeship, 501c3, and I should have brought that up earlier on for you as well. And most of the students there are a whole range. We have apprentices that are just getting into the business, all the way up to senior. For example, the Maryland pilots would come there to refresh and on their training for bringing in the big ships into Baltimore, and we do that for groups around the country. So it's the whole range of people.
Okay, very interesting. I hope you're available also for tours at some point. I would love to visit.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We do that all the time. Be happy to show as well. It wasn't in the presentation, but we also support a lot of different nonprofit groups that are trying to get people into the maritime industry. We only had one page, so I had to put what's important on it, but I'm happy to provide any additional information on other things we do. For example, we used to house the USO when they were stuck overnight, didn't have a place to stay. We take them on. So there's a lot of those community efforts that just was not not enough pages to add to the single page.
Got it. Very neat. Well, I look forward to visiting and thanks for your wonderful work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Lehman. And I want to take a point of personal privilege and just acknowledge to my colleagues the great work that MyTax does. I've had a chance to visit their facilities on a number of occasions, and I have had the opportunity to see some of the apprentice training. And I know that they afford organizations like education associations, PTSA, state PTSAs to come in and do training in their facilities. And it's just a wonderfully kept secret near the airport in Linthicum that if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there, but they do some amazing work. And so I certainly appreciate the great things that MyTax does and the wonderful staffs there. And I'm sure organizations like the BWI Partnership and other organizations really appreciate the partnership that they have and the things that the facilities that you afford them the opportunity to use. So thank you very much for that. I don't see any other questions at this time. So what I want to do is take the opportunity to thank everyone for attending this evening. As everyone knows, this is not the first or not the last opportunity for legislative bond bills to be heard. We will have a number of them that will be addressed during session, and I look forward to hearing those as they come up. But I know that everybody has lots of things going on, and certainly wanted to keep this as short and concise as possible. So with that, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that this legislative bond initiative hearing be adjourned. We are adjourned. Thank you so much. Everyone have a wonderful holiday and look forward to seeing everyone in January. And again, congratulations to Delegate Bagnall and Delegate Jones on your upcoming leadership positions.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Happy holidays,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night.